I'm your guest host. I'm KJ, and I'm joined with Chris Cerino. And what we're talking about today are laws and legislation coming out of California and buyback programs in LA and Chicago, right here on Gun Talk Nation. Hello, Gun Talk Nation. I am your host today because Ryan Gresham is not here, and he is on the road, headed back to Louisiana after a very successful hunt with EOTech. But today's Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Armscor, Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, Lockdown, Secure Your Lifestyle, and Wheeler, makers of fine gun tools that you need in your everyday life. So get them while they're hot. And today with me is the man, Chris Cerino, the man. He is with Gun Talk full time.
Hello, everyone.
And I think we've covered that.
We have.
But it's always good to get a follow-up on, like, hey, how are things going? Are you tired of drinking through a fire hydrant? Get those questions out of the way. So how's it going?
Well, it's been fantastic, actually. Number one, I'm a big fan of the weather in the South.
It's easy to get used to.
So the weather's been good. My new home is fantastic. I do have a lot of friends here. Not everybody knows that. So
You do?
Yeah. I mean, you guys don't.
We don't count, actually.
Yeah, you guys don't invite me to do anything, but hey.
And you kind of lucked out because I've been having some friends going through some issues with neighbors, but you've got great neighbors too.
I have people that stop by, they check on me, they ask questions, how things going, do you need anything? They bring me food.
See, here's the thing. If Chris Cerino moves next to you and you find out, wait, this guy's a really, really big gun guy, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, buddy, can you help me with this?
Well, when they pull into my drive and they see my shooting bench off the back porch, and then they can see the targets out to 200 yards and all the steel, and they say, oh, I see you got yourself a little shooting range here. I said, oh, yeah.
And you probably know how far it is from your front gate to the shooting perch you've already set up in the second story, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I know exactly all the distances. So
157 yards.
Yes, just so everyone knows, I have a dope card for everything in my yard. And if I can see you, I know how far you are.
It's dangerous. See? So the South's easy to get used to. We're free-loving states down here. We were kind of tasked with this podcast kind of almost at the last second. And so Chris and I kind of scrambled together and we were deciding on what we were going to talk about. And there are a couple things that actually that we wanted to hit on that were kind of newsworthy right now. And this just kind of came out. And there's a story, and two of these are going to come out of California, which is where a lot has happened in the last 48 hours.
It seems kind of ridiculous that we, every time we search for the latest news on guns and gun control, everything falls back to California.
Almost everything. California. Like that's where it's happening, where the hotbed of legislation to take away your Second Amendment rights is typically going to happen out west, right?
Yeah, well,
or in Washington, I guess. I mean, or in New York.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not New York, it's California,
Chicago.
Illinois, Washington, D.C. As you know, we've been looking at different things, you and I, and I mean, the country where the smallest populations are is where people are the most in tune with societal norms and self-sufficiency, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to be themselves.
Well, we have a better, I believe we have a better grip on reality, on what is the realistic threats to us. And I'm talking, I'm coming from Oklahoma, you're coming from Ohio, we're both in Louisiana now. But people in those rural areas typically have a better grasp on what it is to be in reality.
Well, an interesting thought here would be I have a small amount of family in California. Of course, I have a lot of friends in California, but I have family there, and one of which is my mother. And my mother, she always tells me, and I no offense to California people, because I know that the folks that are listening are not. They're not the same, but my mom always says, she's like, you have no idea how out of touch people are. I mean, they call themselves conservatives, even though, because she lives in Orange County and Newport Beach, and,
right.
It's the best place probably to be, but other than inland. I mean, and honestly, it's so gorgeous. California's a shame. It's wasted on California. But she always says, people are so out of touch. They have no idea what it's like to just be out in the rest of the country, because everything they do, everything they buy, everything they pay is so different. They don't realize how the great unwashed like you and I live,
Yeah.
I mean, I cut my own firewood.
We live free.
I fix my own stuff. I watch YouTube to get stuff done. I shop around for pricing.
You pay $3.79 for gas.
I pay $3.79 for gas, and I'm willing to drive for it.
Right.
Like I'll go a little ways because,
well, that's a whole different thing as the gas thing, because we shouldn't touch on that because that's a hot button issue for me. But the first one that we're going to talk about comes out of California, and I'm going to just tell you the headline, and you're going to get a little bit upset about this. California may allow, so they're not allowing citizens yet, may allow citizens to sue over illegal firearms. So just by the headline, Chris, what do you think that means?
I have no idea what that means, because when I read it, California may allow citizens to sue over illegal firearms. Okay, so how do they know it's an illegal firearm? How do they know who to sue? I mean, do they sue me because I have something that they know it's illegal? Like they see me through my window in my backyard.
Right.
Does my friend say, yeah, Cerino's got a bunch of those 30-round mags, and he's got like several AR-15s,
and you know what? He cut me off last week in traffic.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, essentially what you're allowing citizens to do is to police their own. So they are allowing, and I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to read. This is courtesy of KTLA 73 on their site. And this comes following the heels of what they are deeming a mass shooting this past Sunday.
Wasn't that like
Sacramento? Yeah. And he was a criminal anyway, so he shouldn't have had the guns anyway. He cannot own them. So,
but he had one. So if I could sue him, can I sue him? Or if I was a California resident, can I now sue him and say, "Hey, I want a piece of that action"?
Well, and here it is. This is Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. It would allow people to file civil lawsuits against anyone who distributes illegal assault weapons, parts that can be used to build weapons. They're using this weapons term a little cavalier, so just take that with a grain of salt. Guns without serial numbers. Ghost guns filed off, more or less, or 50 caliber rifles. So
50 caliber guns.
Yeah.
It doesn't say 50 caliber rifles. It says .50
caliber rifles.
Guns. Does it say
this
rifles?
one says rifles?
Okay.
Maybe yours says something different. But the source that I'm taking it from, it says they would be awarded. So the person filing the suit would be awarded at the very least, $10,000 in civil damages for each weapon, plus attorney's fees. So if you're a gun shop and a guy brings something in, maybe, I don't know, to sell or something like that, would that allow, if someone came in on the heels of it and was like, hey, I don't want this, I want to get rid of it, can you consign this for me? And maybe it's a stolen firearm, or can you go in there and go, that looks like one of those ghost guns, I'm going to go file a lawsuit real quick, and anything in that shop that is deemed illegal or against regulation, would that be $10,000 for each firearm?
That's what it says.
That's what it says. So this is scary. I'm sorry, but from the outside looking in, and it's very hard for me being a Louisiana resident and me being in a freer state to look on the outside. Californians have a completely different view of this, and I know if you are a California resident and you're a freedom-loving California resident like us, God bless you. And you probably are getting a little bit different view of this from us, but from the outside looking in, this is a dangerous precedent, because now you're turning regular citizens into police.
Yeah, that happened in Nazi Germany.
Oh, that's where that I knew it somewhere that was going to come up.
Well, and it says California Governor Gavin Newsom on Friday backed legislation that would let private citizens enforce the state's ban on assault weapons. This would let private citizens enforce the state's ban on assault weapons. I don't get it. I mean, you have no law enforcement powers. You have no jurisdiction. You are a private citizen. I mean, you can file a complaint. I mean, nobody can stop you from filing a complaint against me for what you think I had or you saw. But that's up to law enforcement to follow up on that.
Right. But can you go ahead and follow suit? Can you file a suit against that person and then the police will take action? Right? I mean, this is 100, and I know you're either watching this or you're listening to it. You're scratching your head right now, or you're banging your head against a wall. And that's what I think all of us are sitting here doing, because it's so scary to me to believe that this Democratic, it's scary. Gavin Newsom is scary. Like, this is an unprecedented state where he is taking everyday civilians, and there are some vindictive people out there that it doesn't matter.
Well, they hate you because you wear an AR-15 shirt, or they hate you because you wear a flat brim cap.
Yeah.
They hate you because you're covered with tattoos. They don't like you because you're black. They don't like you because you're brown. They don't like you because you're too white. They just don't like you. Right. So they're going to nitpick and cause you grief.
And this is a dangerous precedent. But we're gonna stop right here. We're gonna pick this up on the other side with Mr. Chris Cerino. But I want to let you guys know about Crimson Trace's new rig, their rapid illumination grip with 500 peak lumen weapon light. So this goes on the front of your AR or your chosen platform. But it goes on M-LOK or Picatinny rails, so that's nice, and it's completely ambidextrous. But it comes with 2 rechargeable batteries that each last an hour at peak lumens. So at peak output at 500 lumens, man, and you can adjust that lumens. So if you want it always to come on at 250 or 300, something like that, it's easily done. And it's got left or right side buttons, optional remote switch. So that's cool. So it can be almost like you don't have to have your hands. You can put your hand where you want it, right?
So you can hold the gun regular.
Yeah, you can hold the gun regular. You don't have to adjust your grip to the rapid illumination grip from Crimson Trace. Find out more at crimsontrace.com. And Ruger's Light Rack LCP2. Chris is a fan of this one. He enjoys it quite a bit. But it's a low recoil pistol, ideal for training or concealed carry.
That's the one that comes in 22, isn't it? The Light Rack?
Oh, yeah, the Light Rack is 22.
Yeah.
Look at him. He knows this stuff. It's almost scary how much he knows about this.
I've actually shot it. I stood offhand at like 30 feet and just rat holed him with the 22. How is it not fun?
I know. See, how's it not fun? The Ruger Light Rack LCP2 includes slide serrations, pronounced cocking ears, and lighter recoil springs. So if you have a hard time manipulating slides, words are hard today, the Light Rack might be perfect for you. Find out more at Ruger.com. And Armscor and Rock Island Armory, the new STK 100. Chris has time behind this gun as well. We recently shot it at a Palmetto State gathering, and it was really cool. It's a little bit heavier. It's it's the all steel frame.
Yeah, striker fired.
Yeah, it's a striker fired pistol. But I'm sorry, it's an aluminum frame, 1911 grip angle.
It's all metal gun. Yeah.
Let's just say
that. It makes it just heavier. A little bit heavier, and it's built
And what
nicely.
will a heavier gun do for you, Chris?
Well, it definitely helps to reduce felt recoil and visible recoil.
See, there you go. And it's 17 round capacity. It's got updated optics plate for universal microdots. So anything that you've got, you're going to be able to slap on there because they're going to include a plate for you. And the MSRP has been lowered. Yep. It has been lowered now to $4.99. So you're going to find it under that, I guarantee you. But find out more at armscor.com. All right, we're going to jump back into it. And we're talking about California and kind of some of their screwed up laws that they're introducing. And Gavin Newsom's just a pain in our butt. But California is potentially going to allow citizens to basically police the state. And I'm sorry, but if it doesn't scare you, it should, because what happens a lot of times, and a lot of times people don't understand this, is legislation will start out at point A, right? Someone creates it, like a Moms Demand Action group or Bloomberg group, something like that. They create this legislation and they say, okay, where can we implement this first? Okay, hey, California, we're going to go implement it there, right? Because they love us out there. We're going to get this implemented. Okay, we got it. Still not working. Okay. But let's take that existing legislation and let's take it to another state. And so you've got this compiling list of states starting to adopt this legislation because the legislation's already built. They just need people to sign off on it and to promote it and to get it in the House and the Senate and onto the governor's desk.
What are they going to do next? Ban tuner cars because those people that drive them fast and they do crazy things, and they're going to say, well, those are dangerous and
they're like missiles.
They put people at risk. So if you have a tuner car, we're going to come after you. We're going to ban it, and if you still have it,
okay. Let's take that example. Okay, yes. Okay, we're going to ban that. You know what you have to drive now? You have to drive an electric car. That's what you have to drive, and we're gonna make sure that we control the output of electricity.
I'm not going to because I don't know if Buc-ee's has electric pumps that work as fast.
That's fair.
And they're not going to have 100 electric charging stations.
No, I'm sorry, but I can't. I'm not going to commit to the electric car thing. I mean, for like just tooling around town and just getting around town, not a problem. But could you imagine trying to take okay, I want to go hunt in Oklahoma. Okay, I've got to charge up. I've got to map out my route, determining on what electric stations that I can find. And then when I'm out in the country, do you really think around the little area that I hunt at is going to have a hybrid hookup? No.
Let's take California to another ridiculous level.
Gosh, here we go.
And let's talk about L.A., Los Angeles. Not Louisiana. Let's talk about their recent gun buyback. So how many people do you think live in L.A.?
I would say 4 million.
Yeah, I know there's millions. I know that.
Something like that.
So they had a gun buyback. They had a gun back. Yeah, it's big.
And I guarantee you they promoted it, didn't they? Like they probably, put a bunch of advertising behind it.
Oh yeah, so they sponsored a gun buyback. They just recently had one, and they ended up with 267 guns. and I'm not done. 267 out of millions of people.
Yeah,
millions of people. There's probably more than 267 gangbangers in the county of LA.
There's probably a couple. City. Yeah. Did they turn them all in?
Well, they're probably the ones that brought them in because $100. If you can get $100 for a junker, why not take that instead of robbing somebody for their Rolex? So, anyways, they got
unless they have prior. So, do they screen these people as they come through? That would be interesting.
Well,
why do you have this gun if you're a criminal?
Well, one of the rules for gun buybacks is there's no questions asked. There's no questions asked. So everybody can feel free to turn in their guns. So they got 17 so-called assault weapons, whatever an assault weapon is in and I should have, looked at what does California consider an assault weapon, but I'm pretty sure it's almost everything.
If it goes against what the regulations is, it's an assault weapon, right?
17 of what they really want to get rid of, assault weapons. I mean,
millions of people. Okay, what else did they get?
They got 250 other firearms.
Okay.
And they got 15 ghost guns.
Whoa. How did they find them?
So if I'm a California resident and I spend my time building a polymer 80 gun.
Okay.
And then I realize suddenly that, oh my God, I can't have this. I'm going to go take it down to the gun buyback and just give it to them. I'm relatively certain that not one of those 15 so-called ghost guns was a real ghost gun, like something that somebody either 3D printed, because I'd be proud of that. I wouldn't give it to anybody. Polymer 80 or a 80% AR. So they get 15. So my question is, and my question is not a question. I will bet you
a statement.
I will bet you both my big toes that those 15 guns were simply guns they couldn't find the serial numbers on because they were either ground off or they were so old they didn't have serial numbers.
I would 100% agree with you. So I cannot take your toes, as enjoyable as that might be. But what they are deeming ghost guns, and this is a whole other Gun Talk Nation. And again, I am your host. I'm filling in for Ryan today. I'm KJ, and to my left, your radio dial right, is Mr. Chris Cerino. So here's what their definition of ghost guns are. It's virtually untraceable firearms. Virtually untraceable.
Virtually.
Without serial numbers that can be assembled by unlicensed buyers from purchased kits. The unfinished parts are inexpensive and not required under federal law to have background check to purchase. But ghost guns, their definitions of ghost guns I have a problem with anyway, because I think Chris is 100% right. The guns that they are getting are these guns that serial numbers have been filed off or just unreadable. They're probably from early World War I time frame, and they just worn off, or they just don't know where to look, maybe.
So in all the years they've been doing this, this is the 17th buyback they've done. And over the years, the police department, LA Police Department, has received 17,634 firearms, including 716 assault weapons. 716. So
17 years.
So of 17,000 guns, they got 716 assault weapons, which we're not exactly sure what they're calling that, but you know. So what is that in a percentage? I mean, that's like,
you're looking at 10%.
Would be 1,700.
Right, 10%.
So we're looking at 5%, less than 5%. We're looking at 4%. Yeah.
Success rate on what they deem, what they really want are the assault weapons. But this whole idea of a buyback program, do you think they would throw those back in and offer them back to the public? Can we buy those?
No, they get cut up, melted down, and ground down. But let's go to another stupid place. Let's go to.
We're going cross country, aren't we?
We are. We're going to go to the Midwest, the northern Midwest of Illinois, and Illinois, as they say in France. They're in the process right now of Mayor Carrie Lightfoot is trying to raise $1 million so it can hold its largest ever gun buyback events. They're going to schedule 2 this summer in Chicago. They're going to have 2, but they're raising $1 million for it. Now, mind you, L.A. was giving $100 for every gun. $100.
Unless it was an assault weapon, then it was $200.
Then and if it was a better gun, it was $200. So I've, over the years, amassed guns through inheritance and things like that were just little junkers that didn't fire, didn't work, couldn't do anything. And I'm not going to say I gave them to anybody, but I've just gotten rid of them because it's like, well, it's a neat little thing, and maybe my cousin can disassemble it, sell it for parts on Gunbroker, because they're historical guns.
Right. So let's use California math. I'm gonna go back over to California. I'm gonna pull this in, so we're on the same page. So let's say they raise $1 million. Okay, they've got $1 million. So Mayor Lightfoot, $1 million, right? She has a big umbrella. All right, let's say we take the California model and they acquire 1,700 weapons, which they did not do in this last buyback. California's didn't, right? LA's didn't.
No, they got 267.
They got 267.
Is that
So what I'm saying is that if let's say on a yearly basis they do this one buyback program, and they collect $1,700 at $100 a piece. And I know there's going to be some $200 in there, but that's $170,000. So what happens to the remaining? Was that $130,000? So what happens to that money? I want to know what happens. Does that go back into another gun purchasing program, or does that feed down into the wallets of those?
Oh yeah,
that are,
well, I'm sure
that are in charge.
Yeah, well, it's California by rights
Just
got about $26,000 out of their buyback, right? Now, I'll go back to this. I got these junkers that I give to somebody, and I say, listen, man, disassemble it, sell it on Gunbroker, do whatever you want, take the parts. If I could get a $100 gift certificate to the Piggly Wiggly for a gun that doesn't work, I do it.
Okay, I guess that would be my question, is if they were having a buyback program, would you participate?
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of folks out there that say, you know what, I've got this old H&R 22. I mean, you go to a place and they say they're giving you $200 a gun. I mean, how many guns do you have that are really, you'd sell them to your friend for $200? I'd be like, hey, you can have this for $200.
I will be honest with you. There's not a gun in my safe. Granted, I am very trim and slim when it comes to like firearms that I take in. There's not a single one in there that I would part with.
Well, there was a point when I had over 300, and
right.
And then there's guns in there that you could say, yeah, I'll take $100 for that.
But you're older than me.
200, yeah. I'll take 200 for that.
So Chris is older than me, but he's probably been in the gun game a lot longer than a lot longer than I have. I mean, I've been around guns my entire life, but within the firearms industry, I've been here 16, 17 years.
I've been in the industry now 10 years.
Oh, so I've been in the industry longer. But he has better negotiating skills than I do, or more friends.
But if I'm going to get a gift card to the local grocery store for $100 or $200, there's probably things that I could fish out and say, you know what? Who cares? And I know there are people out there cringing because they're like, oh my God, please sell the broken one on Gunbroker because it probably has the parts I need.
Yeah. That's what they're saying.
But that's a pain in the butt.
I know.
That's a pain in the butt. I got to do that. I gotta send it to an FFL. I got to ship it. I got to box it. I got to do all that stuff. I mean, if I can get an easy $200 to go to the grocery store, that's a lot of prime rib.
That's a lot of prime rib. But we're gonna talk about a little bit more about this because I want to find out where this prime rib's coming from that's so good that he'd trade in some guns. I'm here with Chris Cerino. Now, Sig Sauer, the new P322. Now, Chris, I'm going to get your thoughts on this, but the new 322 from Sig Sauer is their first U.S. designed and manufactured 22 long rifle pistol. 20 rounds plus one capacity, more than any other 22 pistol on the market. It's optics ready and features a thread adapter and a single action trigger with interchangeable shoes. So if you want a curve, you can have a curve. If you want a flatty, you can have a flatty.
It comes with that too.
It comes with it. And it all can be found at sigsauer.com. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I know that our good friend Phil Strader was part of the design work on that. He's very proud of it. Of course, I like Phil. I love the 365 and the P322. When I first saw it, I thought, it's just another big 22, a full size. It's a full size gun. Because I have a bunch of 22s for training people, but man, I'm going to tell you, out of all the 22s I have, that Sig P322 had the best trigger, the best sights, the best fit and feel in my hand. And my understanding is it's going to work in 320 holsters. Am I correct?
I believe you are correct in that. So if you're going to be training on the range and stuff and you got a P320, you're going to slide right in nice and comfortably with the P322 from Sig Sauer. Wheeler Tools offers a variety of gunsmithing tools, armorers kits for ARs, all that good stuff, rings, mounts, complete scope mounting kits, and their new Fat Sticks torque wrench set that I absolutely love. It stays in my truck, and basically it stays within a 30-second walk of wherever I am. Like, it stays that close to me because you never know when you're going to need a torque set of torque wrenches.
I use Torx tools for all my optics mounting. I know I tighten my scope bases onto the Picatinny, 45 inch pounds. I do my scope rings, 25 inch pounds, and I'm kind of fanatic about it. Unless there's another specification that the gun comes with, all my bolt
Keep
guns.
it standard.
All my bolt guns get if they come out of the action to get oiled, because if you hunt with a bolt gun and you take that out of the action, you got to tighten that right. And I know, man, back in the day, Remington was like 65 inch pounds up front and 45 inch pounds in the rear, and everybody just kind of tightens stuff down. And you can damage wood, you can damage screws, you can stretch screws.
Yeah, but it's important stuff. Upgrade your bench at wheelertools.com and use the code GUNTALK10 for 10% off your entire purchase. And Silencer Central, silence delivered straight to your door. I got my Banish 30 and I absolutely love it. And guess what? It was in my mailbox, delivered straight to my door. I did not have to go to a gun shop. I didn't have to go to a police station to get my fingerprints. I didn't have to go to a Kinko's or anything like that to get my picture taken. It was all done from the comforts of my home. So Silencer Central makes it easy to purchase. One suppressor that they have that I really am debating on getting, my wife's going to kill me if she hears this, is their Ultima 9mm. That's one of the things in my arsenal that is missing is a 9mm suppressor.
Yeah, I have a sub. Well, I've got an MPX.
Yeah,
and I've got a can on the front of that, and it makes that thing so much more fun to shoot. I mean, it's a small can, 9mm can, and most of the 9mm cans, and you have to read the specs on them, but most of them will also accept 300 blackout subsonic.
Right. So
with a subsonic round, you can still work that. So why not have a 2-in-1 can like that? And plus you can
Makes
still
it easier.
You can screw it on a 22. Put an adapter on it. I mean, I know everybody talks about efficiency. It's supposed to be built for the caliber.
Yep.
But I use them for anything.
Oh yeah, anything we got. So visit silencercentral.com to learn more. All right, we're back at it, and we're talking about the crazy gun laws and the buyback programs that are happening out in LA and out in Chicago. And the question is posed, would you participate in one? I don't have any guns that I really want to get rid of. Chris, on the other hand, had a different point of view, which I think is valid. Like, if I just don't know if there's a prime rib good enough or cheap enough that would get $100. You gotta think, prime rib, that's expensive meat.
Well, I'm not buying the whole roast. I'm single. I live alone.
That's true. He just needs a sliver. I guess that's true, but guns that if
you've got an old broken down 22, Stevens or something, single shot that, was passed down. I mean, I've been to houses, I've been to garage sales. Heck, if I knew there was a gun buyback coming here, I would go to garage sales and I would get guns for $25 and I would go turn them in for $100, $200. Why not? I mean, they don't work. They're beat up. I've had guns that I screwed to my barn in the day that were just for decoration.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beyond restoration.
Right. So that leads me into a whole nother thing that we actually could have really talked about, restoring old guns. And I spent a full day working on, and it was an old Winchester 22. It was my wife's father's first 22.
Oh, really?
Now, I guarantee you, it's a single shot Winchester, real super old. And I noticed like it was kind of pitted, and I received it like that. And so this thing hasn't been cleaned in 40 years. I mean, probably close to 33 or 35 years.
Yeah, well, what I do with something like that, it has sentimental value. I get some good penetrating oil. Like I use a thing called Gibbs that's like a preservative. I soak things down. I use 4/0 steel wool. I clean things up. I don't try to refinish it. I just try to clean it and get the rough stuff off.
Yes.
I mean, it is what it is. And you really, what do you want it for? You're not going to sell it.
I'm sure as heck not, and I'm not. No, heck
You're
no.
going to take it out, shoot it with the boys a little bit.
I don't know if I can shoot it yet. Like I'm still, I mean, the inside of the barrel, and that's a question I was going to ask you anyway, even off air, is so I could not get a cleaning rod through this thing.
Really?
No, it physically got stuck, and I had to do like my version of operation.
So you had to hammer it out, huh?
Yeah, I did. He knew where I was going with this anyway, but no, it's one of those things that nothing has been near that.
Yeah, well, I just soak it. I soak things and then I clean it. I brush and clean. And you know what? I mean, I have guns from, late 1800s, 22. So I had rimfire 25. I left it for my kids after the divorce. Really? I cleaned it up, shot it. Just to say, yeah, it works.
And that's where I'd love to get this thing, is where it shoots. But for one, so I was like, well, I've got to get the bolt out somehow. And there it's not like an easily take it down to get out, to get the bolt out. So I was like, well, looks like I'm taking it apart. So I took it apart. And my biggest fear is taking something apart and not getting it back together. But it was super simple.
That's what cell phones are for, man.
Oh, I don't know.
Take pictures.
That's what I did.
Take pictures every time you're going to take something apart. You take a picture, and then you just take something out, and you make sure you can hear and see. Yeah. Because stuff goes flying. I've cleaned up some really old guns. Heck, I had a 300 Win Mag. I still have it. 300 Win Mag that was in my house fire.
No kidding.
And I had it screwed to my barn for 9 years. It was screwed to my barn outside for 9 years. And one day, one of my friends goes by, he works the bolt, and he presses the trigger, and he goes, man, the springs in this thing weren't even fried. And I said, yeah, so? He said, man, it feels, the steel's not fatigued if the springs aren't fried. So I took it apart. I restored it. I got the original Bausch & Lomb scope off of eBay. I got all the original rings, the bases, the sights. I cleaned it. It was when I was working at Rubber City still, and I could do nitriding. I went, I cleaned it up. I got a new stock for it. I did everything, and I took it out to the range. I mean, it looks just like it looked when I had it.
No kidding.
It's a 1969 Winchester Remington 700. That a friend gave to me, who was a really sentimental person. And I took it and I strapped it into my lead sled, and I tied a big long piece of paracord to it. And I set it out on a target at 50 yards. And I fired it about 10 times. Mm-hmm. It never blew up. And the group was like, you could cover it with a 50-cent piece. And I'm talking about pulling on it with a piece of paracord. It was the neatest thing. To have done that. The barrel had a bee's nest in it because the mud wasps were in there, and they filled it up. But I pushed it out. We looked on the barrel. We cleaned it. And he's like, man, this thing is really nice.
Oh, my gosh. And it's been screwed up to your barn for 9 years?
9 years. Jeez. Outside in Ohio. And I can still use it to hunt with and shoot with.
See, that's a cool story for a gun. So did you document that? You need to write that down.
I should have, but I have pictures of it. After the fire, because all my guns that got burned up in the fire, I laid them on the ground in the driveway and took pictures for insurance. Mm-hmm. And I actually have a picture of that gun before anything was done to it. And I had all the parts that I took off it. I kept, like the scope was melted, and it was bowed, and the glass is all out. And I used to sit on my back porch and shoot into the scope with my BB gun, and I would send pellets down the scope because it was just kind of a little target on my barn.
So now you get to shake them out.
It rattles. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So that's a whole nother Gun Talk Nation. We're gonna have to get Ryan on talking about restoring old firearms and how do you document your firearms. Are you keeping a log of your firearms? Because when fires happen, it's going to be crucial for you to know what you have, even for future generations. Those little records hold some sentimental value, whether you believe it or not. So.
I think we covered a lot of interesting things. I mean, everybody knows California's stupid. Everybody knows Illinois, Chicago especially, is stupid. I mean, we have friends in all those places, and we don't mean that you guys are stupid. No, it's just a shame. It's no different than us living where we live. We can't move just because of something that inconveniences us. But we covered that. We covered.
It's a cautionary tale for all of us not living there to stay plugged in. You got to stay plugged in. You got to stay tuned in to what's happening in your state legislatures. But Chris, thank you for joining on Gun Talk Nation. Ryan will be back next week. I promise, folks. He is not going anywhere for a while. We've got a range to finish up. We got studios to finish up, but that's all coming down the pipe, and we'll keep you abreast to it as news comes out about range ready. So you guys stay tuned for more on Gun Talk Nation.